Now, the Cowboys have all these contract concerns that need to be addressed this offseason, and so far, they've done a combined total of none of it. Entering the final year of his deal, Dak Prescott has the second highest cap hit in the NFL. He has a no-trade clause. Cowboys cannot franchise tag him. So he's got total control of the organization. Meanwhile, Dallas picking up Micah Parsons' fifth-year option. But they placed the option on him as a defensive end rather than a linebacker, which would pay Parsons $3 million less in 2025. And then we get to C.D. Lamb, set to enter the final year of his rookie deal come September, a fifth-year option that'll pay him nearly $18 million unless a new deal is agreed upon. But the Dallas Morning News is suggesting that might not be so easy either. They had an article in which they wrote, and I quote, "Barring a contract extension that, when complete, is expected to make Lamb the highest-paid wide receiver in NFL history, Lamb won't take the field. Lamb is an elite player on the cusp of market-resetting compensation. Participating in the spring under a rookie contract team option is not what elite players do." So RG3 and our beloved former Cowboy Marcus Spears here with us this morning. And we've been talking so much about the Cowboys this offseason. And all the while, we keep talking. They keep doing absolutely nothing. And we keep saying, well, when they get to
Stop shaking your head, RG3. Stop shaking your head, RG3. I know, bro. I know, man. I know. Before we get going, I already know. Okay? Go ahead, G. I'm sorry.
Marcus, no, I get it. I think you speak for the entire fan base. But I guess my point is we've been saying, well, by the time it starts to really matter, they'll get to this, they'll get to that. Well, here it comes. The Dallas Morning News is telling us the first checkpoint on all this is, does C.D. Lamb show up without a new contract? And the time to find that out is rapidly coming upon us. What do you think here, Marcus?
Well, if I'm C.D. Lamb, I'm not showing up, all right, because this has worked in the past. When you think about what Ezekiel Elliott did, when you think about what Dak Prescott and how that contract situation did, Dak was a little bit different. He was participating in some things. But if you look at CD's situation, now we're here, fifth-year option needs to be exercised. The productivity. Gee, Minnesota got the same thing on their hands with Justin Jefferson. So this is not an anomaly when it comes to the league based on how he performed last year. CD has clearly become the #1 wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. The last one to get paid was Dez Bryant to the tune of a $100 million contract. He understands what this market is, and he also understands now how vitally important he is to what the Dallas Cowboys need to be or should be trying to be. And G, here's the crux of the situation, because this is so good how it correlates. We watched in free agency the Dallas Cowboys sit out there and do absolutely zero. Okay, they have a history of paying their own guys who are highly productive. So this wouldn't be out of the ordinary for keeping CD Lamb and paying him money. But the problem is now that you have to do this, and you also have to team build with 2 offensive linemen walking out the door, with your running back walking out the door. Obviously, Michael Gallup being gone. So your receiver room doesn't even look the same anymore. CD Lamb understands there has been no movement in this offseason. I came off a season where I was one of the most productive wide receivers in the NFL, and we don't look the same as a football team. So that requires me to get a lot of money, because I am the most important part to any tune of success when it comes to offense outside of Dak Prescott.
And maybe even inside. So RG3, and Marcus, you might want to cover your ears for this. Robert, how would you characterize the Cowboys offseason so far?
Yeah, Greeny, the Dallas Cowboys have had the worst offseason in the NFL. The worst. I mean, you heard Marcus talk about it. They lost their starting center. They lost a behemoth left tackle in Tyron Smith. Don't have a starting running back. They lost Armstrong and Hankins and Van Der Esch on the defensive side. So to me, like, what is the goal here with not paying CD Lamb already? You have 3 players that should be the cornerstone of your franchise, yet there's already reports out there that Dak is going to have to play the last year of his deal. They're not going to commit to him long term. There's reports that they don't like Micah Parsons in certain aspects. Now there's reports that CD Lamb is going to hold out if he doesn't get a new contract, which he should do. But if the goal coming into the offseason for the Cowboys was to fix their culture and focus on winning and make it all about ball, then they're failing absolutely miserably. These 3 guys have helped you win 12 games over the last 3 years. I know Cowboys fans have to be tired of this circus and this continual song of dance of just getting attention but not winning when it matters. I would rather the Cowboys just come out and say, hey, all you guys are going to play on your contracts and we're not going to do this whole thing. But in order for the Cowboys to truly be all in, they can't be all out on their 3 best players. I'll put it this way to you, Greeny. The Cowboys right now are acting like a toxic partner in a relationship. You address something with them, they say, I got you. We're going to focus on ball. We're going to clean it all up. They clean it up for 2 weeks, and then they get right back to doing the same dang thing. And it does feel like we're just having another situation where the Cowboys are focused on more things than just winning.
Marcus, rather than angry, you look somewhat resigned. I'm trying to, you have the most expressive face in sports television. That's what I'm reading from you here, big fella.
Gee, the hardest part for me, man, is that, and you know this, Michael Greenberg, and you know it's serious when I call you your whole name. Brother, I've been talking about this for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I've been talking about Dallas really going after trying to win a championship for the last 3 years. Gee, every free agent period that has come up since I started doing NFL football, and we've been talking about Dallas, I've been waiting on them to make the move. Every time, bro, they draft well. Their players that they draft, they do a hell of a job for this football team. That is not going to win a championship. And it feels like RG3 said on me on Monday night with me on Monday Night Countdown when we were having this discussion. I said it didn't matter who the coach is. It matters about what they do in the offseason. How are you going to marketably improve this football team? And for all of the things that we talked about with Dak Prescott, and we talked about the playoff performance, we talked about this team and how they come short. Gee, you know what usually makes up for that? Yes, coaching is important. Players. The one common denominator that we've seen go to Super Bowls is because of the players, man. Like we give coaches and we know how important it is. But at some point, regardless of what the situation is in the game, it's going to be about the 11 either on offense or defense. And that.
Okay. This is one of the most insane. This is an absurd take. I was agreeing with a lot of the stuff that was being said up until that point. Coaching matters massively. You obviously need great players. Not disputing that. But you need, at the very least, maybe it might not necessarily be the head coach, but the defensive coordinators and the offensive coordinators. It's not luck that Shanahan has gone to multiple Super Bowls, multiple NFC Championships games with a whole different cast of characters, with two completely different quarterbacks. Okay? I mean, it's just, you think Ron Rivera is going to get to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback? Because I don't think so. Not even close. Sean McVay goes to multiple Super Bowls with two completely different quarterbacks at two completely different ages with completely different rosters. So this idea that coaches don't matter is asinine. I mean, that's absurd. That makes no sense whatsoever. The Dallas Cowboys are absolutely in a difficult situation because they have these 3 players, mainly 2, that you have to pay to a degree that will be guaranteed to get paid the amount of money, whether it's from the Cowboys or not, and that is Micah and CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott is the big gigantic question mark because as good as he is not great. He is not great. If he was great, he would be doing more. And he's not. And so the NFL is learning you cannot pay good quarterbacks great and elite money. You can't get paid more money than Patrick Mahomes and not be as good as Patrick Mahomes and yet expect to win like Patrick Mahomes. That does not make sense. That is not how football works. That is not how any sports work. And that is where the Dallas Cowboys are at with Dak Prescott. And everyone wants to say, well, that's just the market, that's just the market, that's just the market. No. No. That's what bad teams can do, maybe. Where they say, oh, well, we just owe this quarterback this money because that's the way it works. There's a reason why players like Patrick Mahomes leave money on the table, because they know how brutally and crucially important it is to build a good team around them, to keep these other players. So that's why if you pay Dak all this money and he resets the quarterback market, Micah resets the market, and CeeDee Lamb resets the market, I mean, where are you filling in these gaps? Not to mention, you already have these players, and they've already been shown to not be enough to win, especially with the coaching in place. So now if you actually somehow pay them all this money, you're guaranteed to essentially get worse in other positions, or at the very least, you're going to have to draft and really hope you hit home runs, which the Cowboys have done in the past, of course. But now they're younger. So now you're going to have some really young players, first and second year players in key positions that are needed to fill in these gaps because you're paying all these other players so much money. And now your roster is a little imbalanced. Now, I don't know how that necessarily makes you better going into the playoffs. You have to ask yourself, what will it take for the Cowboys to finally start to win these big games? I don't care that they've won 12-plus win seasons 3 years in a row. That means nothing to me, especially when you're losing come time in the playoffs, when you're getting blown out by the Green Bay Packers at home, round 1, wild card. If Dak Prescott is as good as you want to say he is, imagine. Do you imagine Patrick Mahomes getting blown out in that situation against the Green Bay Packers? Do you imagine Joe Burrow doing that? No. I do not. Especially with that roster. Because again, which is it? They celebrate these 12-win seasons and tell me how amazing the Cowboys are, but then they lose spectacularly in the playoffs. So which is it? Are they not good enough? Is Dak not good enough? Are the players not good enough? Do they not have good enough, the number of good enough players or good enough coaching, and that's why they lose? Or are they great and that's why they win these 12-win seasons and then they just can't handle the moment? Which is it? I mean, either way, it's not a good look. Either way, the answer is not what you want to hear. And if you need more good players, right, just a higher number of players, of great players, then paying all these players isn't going to get you there. And if you have good enough players, but they're just not good enough in terms of a Dak Prescott is not good enough to really push the team over the hump, then paying all these guys isn't going to get you anywhere. You're not going to just suddenly magically get over that hump now. Dak Prescott is not magically going to increase his talent by 10, 15%. This is who Dak Prescott is. If anything, he's going to be on the downturn pretty soon. And if you think that it's coaching, then what the heck are you doing keeping Mike McCarthy? How do you not give all the money in the world for Harbaugh? Take a shot at Bill Belichick. Try to get the OC from Detroit Lions. Take a chance on one of these other up-and-coming offensive geniuses. Because if Mike McCarthy's not the guy, then running it back is not going to do anything. You just have to ask yourself, these choices that the Cowboys have been making, how does it make them better? How does it get them closer to winning a championship? And I have not seen a single move that gets them into that direction, even close. Everyone else around them is getting better. Everyone, whether because of actual acquisitions or because they're just getting older and more mature, and so now they are going to play better because they're no longer first and second year players. But the Texans got further than the Cowboys. They added pieces. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They added pieces, got better. I mean, the teams that literally did better than the Cowboys still went out to get better. The Cowboys, on the other hand, who proved to not be good enough, have done nothing to get better. Make that make sense for me, please, because I cannot. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.